Hi, I'm Miriam Cates. I'm the Member of Parliament for Penistone and Stocksbridge. There's been a lot of talk about a bill that's been going through Parliament over the last year, the Police, Crime, Sentencing and Courts Bill. It's a really important bill. It's about 300 pages long. It does all sorts of great stuff to make our country safer and to give police the powers that they need, and to reform the courts and modernise them and make sure that people who break the law are getting the sentences that they deserved. But one of the aspects of the bill that's really caught the attention of the media has been new laws around what's allowed to be done in protests. Now, you might remember over the last couple of years there have been some really quite high-profile protests by Extinction Rebellion and Insulate Britain, gluing themselves to motorways, gluing themselves to trains, stopping printing presses, stopping the free press, that have had some quite serious impacts on people's ability to go about their daily lives, to go to work, even for ambulances to go to hospital. So this bill is all about swinging the pendulum back away from being in favour of those who are protesting, back towards people who need to get on with their everyday lives. So it balances the really important right to protest in a democracy with the rights of people to go about their business.
Should the police be allowed to stop a protest if they think it's too noisy?
Well, I think that's a very kind of simplistic way of putting at it. Of course,
well, it is what it says, over disruptive and noisy protesters.
Of course, noisy protests themselves should not be banned. As just said, that is part of the point of protest. But there is a point at which the noise can tip over into actually disrupting people's ability to carry on with their work, can cause, quite a lot of distress if it continues for longer. And I think, one of the points that's been made is that since the last time any changes were made to these kind of Public Orders Act, there's been some very big increases in technology around amplification, how cheap it is for people to carry the kind of technology that amplifies noise quite intensely. I was working in my office just before Christmas. There was a protest. It wasn't a big protest, but the noise was intense enough that I couldn't work and I had to move to another room. Now, of course, that's a minor disruption. But if that's going on outside your office day in, day out, and it's driving you mad, then I do think that is impinging on people's rights to, to carry out their lives. So there has to be a balance here.
Right. Do you agree, Hannah?
No, I don't. Protest is a very important cornerstone of democracy. And, the government is doing this, trying to do this at the same time as it's putting forward legislation to suppress voters being able to exercise their right to vote. 2 million people are going to be locked out of voting because of the elections bill last night.
But on this particular issue, Hannah, what's wrong with what Miriam's just said?
Well, what they're trying to stop people doing is exactly the kind of things that the suffragettes did. To make sure that women got the vote. So, I'm sorry, but I just think it is a government who is right-wing and extreme and trying to suppress any kind of opposition, which is fundamentally wrong. And, they were also very stupid. They brought some of these amendments to the Lords. And, I do not believe in an unelected upper chamber. I believe that the Lords should be abolished and it should be an elected chamber. Nonetheless, fair play to them. They did their job last night and discharged their duty and stopped this illiberal piece of legislation or aspects of it. And those amendments can now not go back to the Commons, which I think is a good thing. But to stop people, and also one of the aspects of this legislation was they would prevent people from going to future protests. That's an outrageous way for any government to behave.
Right-wing and extreme.
Well, I think that's a strange way of portraying it, because if we look back over the last 2 years, some of the actions of the protesters have been very extreme. Stopping ambulances from going to hospital, disrupting the free press, gluing yourself to a train so people who need to get to work to feed their children can't. That's pretty extreme.
Let's just show